Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. It's a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from the Hindu and Indian Express. So the most important news and editorial of the day that is relevant for the preparation of civil services examination will be discussed in this session. Let's get started with the news topic list. Today is 26th of December. The first important news, that is understanding the dark pattern on the internet. This is from the text and context page of the Hindu. Second, China to work with India for steady growth of the ties amid the tussle between India and China and even the recent talk that has concluded. Finally, Chinese people are looking forward for a negotiation. Third, panel calls for raising judges' retirement age. Fourth, a partner study. This is an editorial. Today I'll be discussing two editorial. The first from the Indian Express, another from the Hindu. That is the forest right and heritage conservation. Apart from the news and editorial discussion, at the end of this video, there will be MCQ based questions. And these questions will be based on current affairs that will help you for the upcoming prelims examination. So without any further delay, let's get started. And before I begin this session, those of you who are new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, find this video informative and helpful, do press a like button. Starting the session with the first news, that is understanding dark pattern on the internet, something important for general studies paper 2, that is achievement of India in science and technology, Indianization of technology, development of new technology. Mostly this type of topic is relevant for the development of new technology and very much relevant for the prelims examination purposes. Now, in the recent times, some internet-based firm has been tricking users into agreeing certain conditions by clicking fewer links. You must have come across some of the link which you unwillingly click. You not wanted to click it, but you even click it and land up to some other page, right? So this is what actually is a dark pattern. What is dark pattern in definition? Dark patterns are the design elements that are deliberately obscure, mislead and deceive websites that visitor make an unintended possible harmful choices, right? तो आप बिना चाहे भी उस पे क्लिक कर लेते हैं क्योंकि ऐसी ग्रे लिंक्स बनाई जाती है ताकि आप अगर वहां पे कर्सर लेके भी जाएं, टच भी करें कुछ और पर्पसली, then it will be landing you to other pages. Now, by the dark patterns, the digital platform take away the user's right of the full information about the services they are using and even control over the browsing experience. I will show you some images that will help you understand what exact is the dark patterns on internet. Now, how do companies use dark pattern? So social media companies and big tech giants like Apple, Amazon, Skype, Facebook, and even LinkedIn, Microsoft, and Google uses the dark or the descriptive patterns to downgrade the user experience for their advantage. So this is done intentionally by the companies. Now, Amazon come under fire in the European Union for confusing a customer for the multi-step cancelling process of the Amazon Prime subscription. And you also must have come across this problem. अगर आपने किसी चीज की सब्सक्रिप्शंस ली है इंडिया में कोई ऐसे एंटरप्राइजेस की, then when you go for unsubscribing, there are a lot of procedures that is involved. You have to mail it down. There's no direct chat support which is there. There's no grievance redressal. You have to definitely mail down. They will revert it after 3 to 4 days. So that creates a problem, and the companies wanted you to keep in the loop so that you do not you give up and you stay with them, right? So after communicating with the consumer regulators, Amazon this year has made the cancellation process much easier for the ऑनलाइन कस्टमर्स इन द यूरोपियन कंट्रीज. तो जितने भी यूरोपियन कंट्रीज के उनके व्यूज है, खास करके जो कस्टमर्स है, उनके लिए उन्होंने सर्विसेज को ईज डाउन किया. नाउ लेट अंडरस्टैंड एग्जाम्पल ऑफ डार्क पैटर्न. हाउ डज इट एक्चुअली वर्क? व्हाट इज द डार्क पैटर्न्स? In social media, some examples like LinkedIn users receive unsolicited sponsored message from influencer. Now they click it down and they basically get some promotional ad landed to other pages which call you for contribution and many other sort of things. There can be some malware which is also attached. Disabling this option is difficult for the user with multiple steps that require a familiar with the platform control. And another dark pattern on the application sponsored is a video ad, getting the started view of the real stories user originally opt-in view, trickling for the several seconds before they can see to the small sponsor level. Now, Google owned YouTube nags users to sign up for the YouTube Premium and pop-ups. Even if you watch YouTube, you must be getting a notifications to get the premium subscription, right? And once you get a premium subscription, there will be some auto-enabled debit that would be there. So there are a lot of things that a customer, as a customer, you won't be able to know. Now, some example, you must come across some of these pop-ups which is there in the websites when you land to the any pages. It says that congratulations, you have won XYZ, this much amount, visitor XYZ, and things are there, right? So for example, this is a pop-up that land you to other pages. Another, when it comes to subscription or canceling the subscription, there's no process where you know how to cancel it. There are a lot of process, the loops that is involved, which will make you resistance to cancel it, right? So this is how these are some of the potent example of the dark webs. Now, risk involved in the dark patterns. So the dark pattern endanger the experience of internet user and make them more vulnerable to the financial and data explosion by the big firm giants. And dark pattern confuse, introduced online obstacles, make simple tasks confusing, have the user sign up an unwanted services product, force them to pay more or share more information than intended. अगर आप किसी चीज को कैंसिल करेंगे, बहुत सारी आपसे क्रॉस वेरिफिकेशंस की जाएगी, and even when you go up for the complaint registration, lot of process that is involved. Suppose if you're calling a credit card company is getting your credit card rid off, तो इतनी सारी IVR में options आएंगी कि आप confuse होकर के you can disconnect the call. So this is how the dark pattern work, keeping customer in suspicions. Now, moving to the other news, China to work with India for steady growth of the ties. Something important for general studies paper 2, that is India and its neighborhood relations. Now, amid the ongoing tensions over the recent clashes between India and Chinese troops at the Tawang in Arunachal Pradesh, the Chinese foreign minister has officially in its statement had said that China was ready to work with India for a steady and sound growth of the bilateral ties, right? This has continued the war between India and China, not exactly the war, but the tension that has escalated for none less than 2 years, right? Round the clock line of ईस्टर्न अगर बात करें ईस्टर्न लद्दाख की LAC, तो वहाँ पे काफ़ी ज़्यादा ये ऐसे प्रॉब्लम्स देखी गई है. अरुणाचल प्रदेश के रीजन में भी प्रॉब्लम्स हुई. सो दिस हैज सर्कुलेटेड फॉर नन लेस देन 2 years. Now, the Foreign Affairs Minister for China has noted that two countries are committed to uphold the stability in the border areas and tension that has prevailed since 2020, right? तो लाइन ऑफ एक्चुअल कंट्रोल की बात करें, ईस्टर्न लद्दाख रीजन की बात करें, ये सारी कुछ डिस्टर्ब्ड एरिया थी. ईस्टर्न लद्दाख के रीजन में कुछ फिंगर पॉकेट्स थे जहां पे प्रॉब्लम नोटिस की गई. Now, he also said that India and China has maintained a communications through the diplomatic and military to military channel. India-China relations. In the recent time, India and China relations has been bogged down since April 2020, and China's tried to move large number of its troops to disputed area in eastern Ladakh, resulting in prolonged military standoff. The two countries have held 17 rounds of talks so far involved in the standoff, and still the resolution has not been met yet. The 17th round of talks with India and China commander level meeting was held in December 20. During the two sides has signed an agreement on a close contact, maintaining the dialogue through military and diplomatic channel and work out for a mutual acceptable resolutions. Border dispute की अगर बात करें इंडिया और चाइना के बीच में, the major clashes between India and Chinese army and the face-off was seen in the Galwan Valley in the June 2020, and this marks the most serious military conflict between India and China of the decade. Now, this is between the two countries that the relationship, the bilateral agreements, things were frozen, and India making it clear that peace and tranquility in the border is something that is essentially required to proceed with any sort of negotiation, any sort of agreement, right? And without which the bilateral ties between India and China cannot go hand on hand, right? तो इंडिया ने कैटेगोरिकली कहा है कि अगर आप वार करते हैं, किसी भी तरह की टेंशंस करते हैं, will not proceed with you with any kind of agreement, any kind of bilateral relationship. If you look into the dispute that has emerged between India and China for this year, there was a reason of Siachen glaciers, which is there, then Askaichen region, which is the western sector. Central sectors में भी कई बार disputes देखी गई हैं. These the red and colors are the disputed areas, followed by eastern sector, especially in Arunachal Pradesh, Macmahon line, and line of actual control in the Ladakh region as well. Now, China's concern over alliances. China ने अपनी concern बताते हुए कहा that China has been opposing the formation of Quad alliances where India is also a member. Quad की membership की अगर बात करें, US, India, Australia and Japan are the member of Quad, as well as AUKUS where the US, Australia and UK are the members. तो इस तरह के alliances चाइना को हमेशा एक कंसर्न के तौर पर रखिए. They have been watching this development and they're concerned with the development because this threatened the Chinese regional presence, and even China definitely wanted to have a presence where they look forward to for the territorial integrity and even expansion of their territory. So these bilateral forums will definitely help to curb the problems. Now, China claims that such blocs are aimed at containing its rise. BRICS की अगर बात करें, Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa has become the most influential platform for the South to South cooperations. Now, panel called for raising the judges' retirement age, something important for General Studies Paper 2 under the subtopic Structure, Organization and Function of Executive and Judiciary. So recently, the Department of Justice told the parliamentary panel that increasing the retirement age of the Supreme Court judges and High Court judges could be extended for year of services for their non-performing judges. जो non-performing judges हैं उनकी टाइम को बढ़ा करके क्या उनकी परफॉर्मेंस बढ़ाई जा सकती है, ऐसी रिकमेंडेशंस आई है पार्लियामेंट्री पैनल की तरफ से. It said that increasing the retirement age of the judges would consider along the measures to ensure transparency and accountability in the appointment of the higher judiciary. But again इसके कुछ challenges भी होंगे. इस तरह के अगर एज को इंक्रीज की जाती है, we'll see that how it will impact. Now, in July, the Law Ministry has informed the Parliament that there is no proposal to increase the retirement age of the Supreme Court and High Court judges. This is what the Ministry, the central government, has noted in its confirmation. That the Supreme Court judges retire at the age of 65. I think most of you must be aware of these basics. And the judges of the 25 High Courts in the country retire at 62. So High Court की जो retirement age है judges की 62 है, and for the Supreme Court it is 65. The Constitutional 114 Amendment Bill was introduced in 2010 to increase the retirement age of High Court judges to 65. However, it was not taken up for consideration in the Parliament and lapsed with the dissolution of the 15th Lok Sabha. The proposal that was given by the Department of Justice, the Department of Justice has made presentation before the Parliamentary Panel on Personal Law and Justice. The Department and Ministry of Law and Justice has made presentation that comprises of judicial process and reform, including the possibility of increasing retirement age of the High Court and the Supreme Court judges. It also suggested that raising the retirement age for the judges should be considered along with bringing down pendency case and bringing transparency in judiciary. Now, कुछ concerns की अगर बात करें, apart from the parliamentary panel, ministries and the stakeholders, the concern is about the Department of Justice has noted that increasing the retirement age may deprive the tribunal of the retired judges as presiding officers or judicial members. तो यहाँ पे एक कमियां खामियां देखी जा सकती है ट्राइब्यूनल को लेकर के. It also cautions that the retirement age may have a cascading effect. The enhancement of retirement of the judges will have a cascading effect as the government employees in the center level PSU commissionizing may raise to the similar demand. Therefore, the issues need to be examined in totality. तो इसे एक पूरी comprehensive में देखने की totality में देखने की जरूरत है. क्या एज बढ़ाने से वाकई में effectively काम करेगी जुडिशरी या फिर इसके और loopholes में प्रॉब्लम होंगे, डिमांड दूसरे सेक्टर से भी इमर्ज किए जा सकते हैं. So this is how the central government has to look this in totality. Moving to the first editorial of the day, that is a partner duty, something important for General Studies Paper 2, that is bilateral regional grouping and agreement involving India and affecting India's interest. Now, what are the issues under this editorial? Before we jump to the issues, just first look into the theme. The theme is about the India and EU relations. We'll look into the regulatory troubles, India EU investment protection के क्या agreements है, and even the way forward. So recently, with the third round of negotiation of India-European Union Free Trade Agreement that was concluded, FTA की बात हो रही है, FTA हुई है, इसमें इंडिया ने काफ़ी हद तक प्रोएक्टिवली कहा है कि यूरोपियन यूनियन के साथ किस तरह से FTA आगे बढ़ेगी, उसके बारे में बात की, कैन इवन टू boost up the entire amount the corpus that is there between India and EU. The two sides are negotiating for an investment protection agreement which contain an investment protection standard of an independent mechanism to settle dispute between the investors under the international law. So whatever will be done will be under the ambit of international rules and regulation adhering India's domestic laws or the national laws, right? ना रेगुलेटरी ट्रबल्स की बात करें जो कि मोस्टली फॉरेन इन्वेस्टर्स चाहे वो यूरोपियन यूनियन के हो या किसी और कंट्रीज को, वी आर मोस्टली कंसर्न हेयर अबाउट द यूरोपियन यूनियन. तो यूरोपियन यूनियन के जो फॉरेन इन्वेस्टर्स हैं उन्होंने कहा है दैट इंडिया हैज़ ऑफन गेट इनटू न्यूमरस ऑफ रेगुलेटरी ट्रबल्स. ऑल्दो रेड टेपिज्म की बात काफ़ी ज़्यादा इंडिया में कही गई है कि यहाँ की जो पॉलिसीज़ है they are not investor friendly. So this concern was also highlighted by the foreign investor. Several foreign corporates like Vodafone, Garen Energy, Nissan, White Industries, Telenor, Nokia, Vedanta has sued India to enforce rights that guaranteed them for the bilateral investment treaties. तो BITs के लिए जो चीज़ें मैंडेटरी हैं, जो इंटरनेशनल नॉर्म्स को फॉलो करती है, वो इंडिया उसको नहीं फॉलो कर रही है, उसमें काफ़ी ज़्यादा रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशन है, दैट इज़ अ प्रॉब्लम. तो BITs पे you can directly expect a question in the mains examination as an analytical point of view. Now the main motivation behind the EU seeking the investment protection is the with regards to the investment protection agreement, that is IPA. IPA की बहुत ही important issues है when it comes to the foreign investor. IPA stand for Investment Protection Agreement. Now arguably EU investors की अगर बात करें, they rely on Indians law for protections. But Indian law can be unilaterally changed to determine the investor. Moreover, Indian judiciary are aggressively slowing the resolving dispute because intentionally भी कई बार देखा गया कि जो resolutions है वो Indian authorities की तरफ से law enforcement agencies की तरफ से slow down किए गए हैं to give them a proper resolution. Now, thus lodging a protection against the international law and under the international law is something the need of the hour. Now, India-EU Investment Protection Agreement, there are several impediments to the successful of India-EU Investment Protection Agreement. Largely अगर बात करें, because of India's inward looking to the investment protection under the law and even that is under the model bilateral TTs, that is BITs. The following differences has been seen as an alarming situation both between India as well as European Union. Now, some of the important points that are alarming, we'll discuss in 4 important points. The first being that India want to push the taxation measure outside the scope and the treaty by making the tax-related regulatory measures not justiciable. And the EU has a difficulty accepting this proposition given the recent history of India's tax-related investment dispute with Vodafone, Garen Energy and Nissan. The second being the EU investment proposals to India take for creations for the two-tier court system within an appellate mechanism and has turned the judges to resolve the treaty dispute between the investor and the state, right? The proposal in connection with the EU stand is internationally for creating the multilateral investment code MIC की formation की बात की गई है. Negotiation for that is going for the United Nations Commission on International Trade and Law. Now the third is the EU investment proposal contains the most favored nations provision, जिसको MNF भी कहते हैं, to ensure the EU investment do not face discriminations with other foreign investors. On the other hand, India's proposition is to include MNF provisions in its investment treaties because of the apprehension that foreign investors will use MNF clauses to indulge in the disruptive strategy shopping. Fourth, the EU investment proposal contain what is known as the fair and equitable treatment, जिसे FET के नाम से भी जाना जाता है, and this is being something that is urged by most of the companies and the foreign entities. provisions which is missing in the India's 2016 model bilateral investment treaties, better known as BITs. Now, what is the way forward in the India-EU relationship in terms of bilateral relationship and the trade agreement? India needs the investment protection agreement, the IPA. अगर investment protection agreement की बात करें, India needs with the EU to attract the FDI, achieving the aspirational milestone of becoming 10 trillion economy by 2030. तो इंडिया को अगर 10 trillion डॉलर इकोनॉमी बननी है तो EU के साथ जो ट्रेड पैक्ट में जो प्रॉब्लम्स है इन्वेस्टमेंट प्रोटेक्शन को लेकर भी उस पर ध्यान देने की जरूरत है. Now, but the first India need to put up its own house door in order, and India should review 2016 model of bilateral investment treaties and also to come up with the recommendations that was given by the Parliamentary Standing Committee on External Affairs. See, simultaneously, India should evolve a clear position on the MIC, right? And with this MICs, the investment countries like EU maintain the high transparency in the negotiation by public articulation its position on critical issues. Now, moving to the second editorial from the Hindu, Forest Right and Heritage Conservation, something important for General Studies paper 2, under the subtopic Conservation, Environmental Pollutions, Degradation and EIA. So what are the issues under this editorial? Before the issue, what is the theme? Forest right and related issues, World Heritage Sites in Karnataka, Forest Right Act, restriction of locals, current status क्या है और conclusion क्या हो सकती है इस editorial की. Now, of 39 areas that was declared by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site, basically which is critical for biodiversity, in the Western Ghat, 10 are there in Karnataka. तो जितनी भी 39 डिक्लेयर की गई उसमें 10 ऐसे साइट्स है जो कर्नाटका के स्टेट्स में आते हैं. बट द पॉइंट हियर इज दैट बिफोर एनी साइट दैट इज कंसिडर्ड एज अ यूनेस्को वर्ल्ड हेरिटेज साइट, उसकी कुछ प्रोसीजर्स है वो फॉलो करने होते हैं. वहाँ को लोगों को बतानी होती है दैट व्हाई this is considered as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and there are other process, due process that has to be followed, which was not followed in Karnataka. उसके context में editorial ने writer ने इस बारे में highlight की चीजों को. As a general rule, before recognizing the area as a World Heritage Site, UNESCO seeks the opinion of inhabitants, जो वहाँ के लोग हैं, जो बसिंदे हैं वहाँ पे, और उसकी क्या implications हो सकती है उसके बारे में जानने की कोशिश की जाती है on their lives and their livelihood. But the majority वहाँ पे stakeholders है कर्नाटका के 10 sites पे. They are from ST/SC community, minorities and OBC. And even these are the forest dwellers in Karnataka. They were not aware of the process that has led to the declaration of UNESCO heritage sites. Now, World Heritage Site in Karnataka की specifically बात करें, half of the sites in Karnataka fall under the protected area. 4 उसमें national parks हैं, 4 wildlife sanctuaries हैं, and remaining are the reserved forest. Now, the issues has become complicated because people refuse to relocate to the grounds of their attraction and land fearing extinction to the culture and religious group. अगर वो अपने पेरेंट जगह को छोड़ेंगे तो कई बार ये थ्रेट होती है कि उनकी जो एथनिसिटी है वो खतरे में आ सकती है. It can be a susceptibility to their ethnicity. The Gram Sabha appears that the Supreme Court in the act deciding the proposed resettlement that has to be given with a free informed consent की जरूरत है. उनसे सारी बातें प्रायर बता करके what is the exact ground reality they should be better informed. Now, Forest Right Act की अगर बात करें, the Act recognizes that the forest right and occupational right of the land, specifically for the forest dwellers and scheduled tribe and the other traditional forest dwellers, would have to be given the residing rights for the generation. तो एक generations की बात की गई है as per the rule. And in terms of FD, ST and OTFD, the right of the ownership land for the tribal forest dweller is up to 4 hectares. बट यहाँ पे देखा यह गया है कि 1 हेक्टेयर से भी कम ही में उनको रखा गया. एंड इवन द मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द फॉरेस्ट ड्वेलर्स क्लेम दैट द लैंड मेजरिंग वर नॉट मोर देन 1 acre. सो जो एज पर द रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशन इट शुड बी 4 hectare, बट व्हेन इट्स कम टू द allocating part of that, only 1 hectare and even less than was allocated. Now, restrictions for local as well. The people in the village falling under the eco-sensitive zone has said that the starting experiencing severe restriction to their entry into the forest. Development activities like road repair has been stopped. Now, framing not allowed in normal way, use of fertilizers are banned, and even small knife is not allowed to be carried out in the forest. Why? Because it is a suspicion that they might cut the forest, which is actually not the case. The people are prohibited from cutting trees, falling off their houses to repair and move them from the. Now, current status की अगर बात करें, most forest dwellers are said that they're deprived of the basic facilities and the government benefited under the various schemes program posed to the record of rights, tendency crops and required for along the settlement. The respondent were in the position for the land claim under the FRA, including the implications of the either subject that were pending. However, in many places there are apprehensions that were accepting the resettlement package moving out for the protected areas, good or bad, but definitely the people residing, the dwellers that are residing in the native area, they don't want to change their place, and government must address this issue in consonance with the rules that is there under the Forest Right Act. Now, if you conclude this, there's some important point that need to be taken and highlighted. First and foremost is the right, the inevitable right which is there, and the conservation of biodiversity require a special attention. The forest dwellers willing to live in the forest must be allowed to stay. We cannot force them to leave the place because they are not the actual mainstream people. They are the marginalized section of the society. उनकी basically socialization उतनी ज़्यादा नहीं है. They are not well educated. They are not aware of the social basically values. तो वहाँ पे काफी ज़्यादा problems भी आती है. Many of them do not complies with the norms of the eco-sensitive zone because they are not dependent on the modern development requirement and even do not use fertilizer and mobile phones. They are mostly the people who are marginalized, outcasted and even segregated from the mainstream people. At the same breath, those wanting to experience the fruit of development must be relocated according to the choice of the new place suitable for the packages, and it make them possible for the area to declare the protected and arrive at the consultation after the local population. So this is how the things can be concluded. The government of India, the stakeholders, the entities that is enforcing the Forest Act, the Forest Right Act should be there with the whole spirit, and that should ensure that the right of forest dwellers are not being compromised in any way. Now, moving to the MCQ questions of the day. Before I proceed, just to tell you the answers of yesterday questions. For first question, the correct option is C. For second question, also the correct option is C. Today's MCQ for practice, sure, that is smart anti-airfield weapons. It is designed by DRDO Research Center in Hyderabad, collaborated with Indian Air Force. It is capable of engaging the ground enemy air force assets, radar, bunker, etc. up to range of 100 kilometers. So do check it out for the correct options. Now moving to the second question of the day, that is, consider the following statement with regards to Varuna 21. The 19th edition of the Indian Navy French exercise is being conducted in Arabian Sea. This is for the first time that United Arab Emirates are participating in the Varuna maritime exercise. So do check it out for the correct option. Even UPSC tend to ask the question which is year and old, even 2-year-old question are directly framed in the current affairs sections or the UPSC prelims examination. So practicing a lot more question will definitely give you an edge. And this was all about for the daily news and editorial analysis followed by the MCQ questions. If you have any other concern, you can let me know. I'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video.